I've saved my progress as troglodytepattern.ai. In this exercise, I'll show you how to create a couple of color variations on that tile. I'm going to turn off the test shape layer, go back to humanoid here, and I'm going to click on this little black wedge to select all the objects, and I'll press Control-C or Command-C on the Mac in order to copy them. Then I'm going to turn off humanoid. I'm going to switch to the interior layer, turn it on. Here in the Layers panel, click on the flyout menu and make sure Paste Remembers Layers is turned off. So if it has a check mark, go ahead and choose the command to turn it off. And then press Control-F or Command-F on a Mac in order to paste those guys onto the interior layer. All right, then I'm going to click off of the shapes in order to deselect them. And I'm going to change the name of this layer to Variations, like so. And then I'll click OK. And now to start changing the colors around, I'm going to grab my white arrow tool because all these shapes are enclosed inside groups. And I'll Alt-click or Option-click on one of the purple path outlines, for example. I'll go up to this Select Similar Objects icon, click on it in order to select all the purple shapes. And then I'm going to switch these guys out for garish orange, let's say. What the heck? And then I'm going to Alt-click or Option-click on one of the muted red shapes, go up to the Select Similar Objects icon, click on it, and switch these guys out for garish green. And then I'll go ahead and grab any one of the yellow shapes right there, select Similar Objects once again. And then finally, I'll switch these guys out with garish purple. And we get this effect here. And then all I do is I just go ahead and select all these objects again by clicking the black wedge in the upper right corner of the layer. And then I go up to the Edit menu, choose Define Pattern, and I'll call these guys Clubsters, which is my original name for them because they're so hip with their vibrant colors. And I'll click OK, and now we have a little clubster swatch. And then finally, I want to switch these guys out for gradients. And so I'm going to press Control-Shift-A, Command-Shift-A on a Mac to deselect all the shapes. And actually, that's not quite what I want to do. I want to select them all. I'm going to press Control-A, Command-A on a Mac. The only shape I don't want to select is a rectangle. So I'll Shift-Alt-click on it, Shift-Option-click on the Mac. If you can find that rectangle, that's what you want to do. To deselect it, independently of the other shapes. And I've emphasized this many times before, but if you're going to take advantage of that technique, you have to make sure that you're selecting objects by their path outlines. So if that didn't work for you, you press Control-K, Command-K on the Mac to bring up the Preferences dialog box. You switch to Selection and Anchor Display, and you turn on Object Selection by Path Only so you can select through filled objects inside of your document. Anyway, I'll click Cancel because it was already selected. I've got all these guys active now. So I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to press Control-H, Command-H on the Mac to hide those selection edges. And I'm going to go ahead and fill these shapes with the radial gradient that I've created in advance. It's here in the Swatches panel, and it's called Copper Radial. Go ahead and click on that, and you will get this wacky effect here. That's not what I meant to do at all. Gosh, I think that just looks wild. Well, you could work with that if you want to. What I've done, the problem is that I'm filling every single path outline, and many of these paths were not meant to be filled in the first place. So I'm going to press Control-Z, Command-Z on the Mac to undo that modification. And you know what I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to have to click off the shapes in order to deselect them. And then I'll press Control-H or Command-H to see the selection edges. Go ahead and Alt-click or Option-click on any of the filled objects. It's important you get a filled object. And then go ahead and click on Select Similar Objects in order to select all those filled objects. And they should just be, by the way, you want just fill color. So that's what should be selected. And then we'll fill those guys with Copper Radial. And then we need to get the green guys and the orange guys independently. So I'll Alt-click on one of the green guys there, one of the green filled guys. Click on Select Similar Objects. Then click on Copper Radial. And then finally Alt-click or Option-click on one of the orange shapes. Go up to Select Similar Objects. And then finally, click Copper Radial in order to apply that. Now, the big problem at this point is I want each one of these groups of objects in order to be filled with a single continuous gradient. And I'm going to do that, by the way, in a fairly labor-intensive way because there's kind of no other way to work here. I've got to get rid of all of these dudes here except for one because otherwise I'm going to have to operate on every single one of these guys independently. And so I'm going to select the entire contents of this layer by clicking in the black wedge in the upper right corner of the layer there in the Layers panel. And then I'm going to Shift-click with the black arrow tool, Shift-click on the outline of one of the guys in order to deselect them, and then Shift-click on him again. That's not what I meant to do. Shift-click on him to turn him off. Let me see if I can zoom in a little better here. And then shift-click on the outline of the rectangle because I want to keep the rectangle. And then everybody else has to go away. It's heartbreaking, but it's the way it is. And now with this guy, the only troglodyte left standing, I'm going to Alt-click or Option-click on the big path outline with the white arrow tool. And then I'll go up to this icon and select the similar objects. That way I'm just selecting the filled objects and nothing more. We don't want the purely stroked objects. And now I'm going to press the G key to get to my gradient tool, and I think I'm going to be in for a surprise. Yeah, there's a ton of these gradient annotators going on this time around. Anyway, I'm just going to drag from a neutral location like so out to the perimeter, and that way we're filling the guy with a single continuous gradient so that we have smooth color transitions going on inside of this object. Phew. All right, now I'm going to switch back to my white arrow tool, and then I'm going to click off the shapes to deselect them, Alt-click or Option-click on the main path right there, and I'm going to change its stroke to 2 points thick, like so, in order to give him a thicker stroke just around the big border. All right, now let's go ahead and see if we can replicate him. I'll press Control-Y or Command-Y in a Mac so that we can see him and the rectangle, and I probably want to be zoomed in. And now this is nerve-wracking because we've got to make sure we align him properly once again. I'll click on the entire path with the black arrow tool this time in order to select the entire group. I'll press the R key to get my rotate tool. I'm going to zoom back in, actually. Alt-click or Option-click on a bridge of the nose. 120, click copy. Looks like I got him. Press Control-D, Command-D on a Mac in order to duplicate him. And now, let's go ahead and take this group of objects here and just go through the mind-numbing process of replicating them once again. So, when you decide you want to make changes to the colors, sometimes it can be a little more painful than you might have been prepared for it. All right, and I'll press Control-D. I should be able to press Control-D now in order to duplicate these guys all the way over here. That's a Command-D on the Mac, obviously. And then I'm going to take this guy by the tail, and I'm going to drag him into alignment with this location right there. And I'll press the Alt key or the Option key on the Mac in order to duplicate him. And then I'll grab that tail point again, and I'll duplicate these guys to this location. And I'm pressing the Alt key or the Option key as I release. And then finally, I'll grab this guy by the foot. And that isn't finally. I still need one more. But anyway, go ahead and drag him down to this location, snaps into alignment, press the Alt key, the Option key on the Mac in order to duplicate. And then grab this guy by the tail, press the Alt or the Option key, release in order to duplicate. Now, I have too many objects once again. I've got this guy that I don't need. I've got this guy that I don't need. This guy I do need. This guy I do need. This guy I do not need. These guys I do need. Him I do not need. The rest of them are partially inside. Oops, you're not. Go away. All right, everybody else is inside. Grab them. Press Control-Y or Command-Y on the Mac so I can see all these guys. I'll press Control-H, actually, or Command-H. They look good. All right. Then I'll go up to the Edit menu, choose Define Pattern, and I'm going to call these guys Bronze Men, and click OK. And we have yet another tile pattern. Let's check it out. I'm going to turn on Test Shape. I'm going to turn off Variations. I'm going to click on this central rectangle like so. I can't see its selection edges because they're turned off right now, but I presume it's selected. And then I'll go ahead and click on Clusters. Perfect. I knew that one was going to work, though, because we didn't have to make any major modifications. Let's try out Bronze Men this time, and everything works out hunky-dory. And that's how you go about creating color variations on your tile patterns here inside Illustrator.